based on what we heard in the superintendent's report, whether the members of the board live in Kentucky or Port St. Lucie or Osceola or Hawaii or Italy or whatever, it makes no difference. Their grades, you said, were not a concern. They're outperforming our schools, and now we're going to take away an option for parents who have schools or a school that's outperforming ours. It just seems absolutely incredible that we would be bringing this up. Something that looking at now, it looks like the school has 1 year, according to statute, to rectify an improvement plan. And when you brought this up was in November last time. So we haven't even given them the year to rectify the issues that they've had, which what statute says we should do, right? So from November to now is not a year. I'm not sure that Representative Hawkins or Fred, Mr. Hawkins, would appreciate you mentioning his name with a school closing, especially a charter school closing, because he just got finished closing PM Wells. And parents weren't happy about that either. So here you are now. I doubt that Mr. Hawkins is going to go and tell all these parents that he wants to close their school. I don't think he has anything to do with it. Mentioning his name is inappropriate, to say the least. And whether or not our vote today is closing the school tomorrow or not, the fact is, if we vote today to close that school, in July it closes pending litigation, right? So we are here today to vote to close the school, to basically revoke their charter. If there's 320 families here, not one person came out and spoke against ACCA, then, and I've had multiple, I don't know how many people just spoke, but
sorry,
I've had dozens.
Say that again? My apologies.
We've had dozens who have reached out to me via email and so on. We've been all receiving those emails from ACCA parents. I think it's unconscionable to close a school prior to their statutory mandated improvement plan period when their school is better. When we can't offer the same thing. We can't even come close. We can't offer them the academic performance, right? Instead of learning poetry, we have pornography in our libraries. Instead of safety and security like they're talking about, the culture they're talking about, we have kids having sex in our bathrooms. Instead of the environment that they're discussing, okay, I don't know if they have Hispanic kids in their school, but certainly we can't compete with them in terms of how we deliver education to Hispanics. But we're here to close their school. We need to focus on our own schools first.
First off, thank you, those of you who spoke. Thank you for doing that. Those of you who sent the countless emails, I appreciate that and appreciate the information. What we are talking about here today is to start a process to close the school. Doesn't mean the school would necessarily actually get closed, but it starts a 90-day process. The purpose of starting that process today is so that we know in midsummer, first week of July, I think, what will happen next year, which gives people a chance to move. I will tell you, I've been through some closures. I've been through some closures where the school, literally about this time of year, the school on the Pleasant Hill Road side of the county, they walked away from it. And the next day, we've had teachers in there and everything else to keep the kids educated, keep things moving, allow kids to graduate. It was a horrible situation. I don't think any of us want to get into that situation. I hear what you're saying about the kids. I applaud that. I think that's great news. I understand it. But starting this process, I believe, has to happen because there are some things going on in that school. I disagree with some of the things Mr. Arguello said. We are responsible for the health and well-being of those students. We're responsible that the school has the money to operate. We are responsible that the teachers are paid and that their withholding taxes and that sort of thing are paid. As the attorney mentioned, this will be decided somewhere else. But by starting the process, it gives us that 90 days to make that final
Madam Chair,
call.
I echo Mr. Thacker's sentiments that the student performance and academics aren't the reason why that we're scrutinizing the approval or the beginning of the process to be able to look at the possibility of canceling the charter school contract. The issue really is not even with the teachers or their staff. it's really with the board of directors and the management and the senior leaders. I think somebody mentioned that they changed principals a couple of times. One issue that we have is the Department of Education has something that's called like a reserve balance emergency amount. So if a fund balance goes down to 3%, the Department of Education can take over our own school district and say, wait a second, you're in dangerous territory. You don't have the ability to financially keep up operations. So, like for instance here, I'm looking at the general revenue fund in January 2022. You have, the general revenue is where you have your main operations of paying teachers and things like that. The revenue's at $2.8 million. The total expenditures were 3.2, losing $422,000 in 1 month. In February, the general revenue was again about 2.83 million. The total expenditures were 3.2, another $427,000 deficit. So that is some serious money to be able to overcome. And I know one person was like, can the district give money? We don't give money to charter schools. The charter schools get money from the state of Florida based on the number of students that they have attending that school. So it's up to the school to know how to use those funds appropriately in order to sustain itself. And then the other concern that I heard that Dr. Pace had mentioned, and I appreciate the attorney, because, the eviction may not stay, but right now they're behind on the rent. And so the landlord is in the process of commencing an eviction. So now I understand that that doesn't mean that it's automatically, going to be granted, because in a court of law, they have to do their due diligence or whatever the process is to see whether or not that gets in there. But as a school board, I owe a responsibility to each one of you parents and each one of your students to actually place you somewhere as well. So if there's an eviction notice, that means that there's a possibility, whether we want to vote on this or not, it's going to be out of our hands. If you don't have a building, you ain't going to have a school. So our vote doesn't really matter at that point. But what does matter is like what Mr. Thacker said, if that school closes down without us commencing this process and getting some corrective action on the financials, you're going to be without a school anyway, then we got to deal with all the kids. And then you probably think that's not an issue. It is an issue depending on the timing. That's why we're starting the process now, because ideally, if the Court of Appeals and everybody else, or administrative law, whatever that long process is, determines in the summer that the school can't maintain the financial viability, now we have an opportunity to pre-plan and say, okay, where are those kids going to go? You got curriculum timelines. I see principals in here. We got to do master scheduling. We got to say, okay, little Johnny got to go to algebra. This person's got to go to whatever. It's not just, just take the kids and whatever. It's not magic. I mean, our staff sometimes works magic, and I love our staff. We make it look easy, but it's really not, because you got to plan, how many students, and also the capacity of the schools. Narcoossee Middle School has like 16 portables. And I'm like, I don't want any more students in that school because we don't even have the capacity to do what we got. So if this charter school fails, now where are we going to even place
It's
it?
always hard to follow Julius because he covers every facet and every nook and cranny and every corner. And I do agree with everything that he's saying. My comment is going to go to the parents. I've got a dear friend who goes to your school. I'm not going to mention her name, but I hold her in high esteem. And I had an hour-long conversation with her yesterday. And she has told me, and I've tried to answer as many emails as that have been sent, I believe in what you're doing, and I believe that your children are progressing probably faster than some of ours. And I'm not aggravated with you, and I'm not aggravated with our board, but I am aggravated with the people who put you there, because it's not fair. You got a board of directors that just, I don't know what happened. I'm not a charter school. I mean, I have no problem with charter schools, but I don't have the in-depth knowledge. But it seems like you got a vehicle with a fantastic running engine, but the tires are flat. The financial and the curriculum component has to work together. And what I would hate to see is us to say, okay, sure, we agree with you, and then we're getting close to the end of the school year, and the landlord comes and puts the locks on the doors. Now, where's your kids going to go? And that's our responsibility. That falls under our umbrella. So it's a tough situation. But at least there is a glimmer of hope with this 90-day process, because great things have happened. There may be somebody who comes in and swoops in and covers this.
I want your school to stay open, actually. I really do. It sounds like you guys have an amazing curriculum. The parents are committed, the students are thriving. So I do want to save your school, and I think because of that, I will echo what my fellow board members have said. I'm voting for this to start the process so that we can save your school. We can't ignore what we have in front of us, but we also can't ignore what you have said to us today. And I hope that what happens after this is that you immediately start working to rectify, not you, the board, starts working to rectify these issues so that we can not debate. Are you going to add anything different that we haven't heard
Yes.
yet?
Thanks.
Okay.
So let's be honest, this is not a motivating factor, voting this down or voting to approve this. This is basically, you're voting to close this school. So we can come up with a nice epithet, but what you're doing is closing the school by voting it. And you're also condemning, right? You're also condemning the school if you do this because you're hurting their enrollment further. So the logic that we have 16 portables at Narcoossee, so we're gonna put now 320 students back in Narcoossee so that we can have 30 portables makes no sense. The school is providing a valuable service to the community and to the county, which is it's relieving a school district which has so poorly planned for its education of its students that we need charter schools to survive in terms of seats for them to sit in, right? So now we're going to close a high-performing school in terms of academics because now we're going to come and we're going to be the good stewards. Like I said, there's plenty of us to focus on. Secondly, it's just a legal issue. They have 7 months left on an improvement plan. So why did you prescribe an improvement plan, which statutorily they have a year to rectify, if we're going to pull the rug out from underneath them after 5 months? That also doesn't make sense. I don't know if it's illegal. Is it legal or is it not?
It's legal.
So why do the improvement plan? Basically what you did was you're playing with the schools, with whoever's running the school, right? You're playing games that you're essentially setting them up for failure. Then you're going to come halfway through, less than halfway through the improvement plan, pull the rug out from underneath them as if they're going to have everything resolved. They may have plans for the rest of the year, and it could be like a rainbow curve. They're on their way somewhere, but you're pulling it out, right? So it just makes no sense. And then you guys essentially are asking parents to pick sides. If you're trying, the bad guy is not us, right? We're shooting you for your own good. The bad guy is the guy who's running your schools. No, that's not the case. They're trying to survive. It's very difficult to run a charter or any business, and they're trying to make the best out of it. Maybe they made some bad decisions, maybe not. But certainly this board itself has made plenty of bad decisions and many times over. So here's what I'm saying. Allow them the year that you already prescribed them. I'm not asking for you to give them a second chance. I'm asking you to make good on the word. I know that not everybody here believes in being true to their word. Be true to your word. You gave them a year for an improvement plan. Give it to them. Give them the year. We already know that they're in trouble, so we don't need to close the school in order to plan for it. Start planning for it. Start planning for it now. Why doesn't the public school district plan for the closure of the school, right? Intellectually, you know that might happen, so you're going to plan for it, and then you give them their best chance to survive. You make good on your word by giving them the year that you promised them already, right? That would make sense. That's what fairness is. This kind of, like, we know we gave you a year, but now we're going to pull the rug out after 5 months. It has nothing to do with the longevity of the school or its possibility to be. You guys want the school. That's what you guys want. You guys want the school for whatever reason. Okay, you guys want the school. And that's what this is really about. So you guys, I'm sure in your mind, you guys may even already know what charter, who you're going to give that charter to. That's what this is about. Right? Right? Yeah.
Charters are not transferable, are they?
No.
We can't give the charter.
But somebody's going to come and say, hey, there's a building there. We're going to apply for a charter.
Don't make stuff up.
That's not making stuff up.
Charters are not transferable.
I'm not talking about their specific charter. I'm saying that you already know. Look, we got a building here. Hey,
Mr.
you mind
Melendez,
interrupt?
Mr.
What is this?
Melendez, please
Yeah.
don't interrupt.
Why don't you worry about, you push the button, there's the button's right there.
Thank you. Oh,
If want
Mr.
to-
Arguello, please.
So the thing is, that I suspect that you guys know exactly who's going to get a charter, who's going to move into that school. That's what I suspect. After 5 minutes of being elected, I know that you guys already decide all this stuff far in advance. And if you're pulling the carpet out from underneath these families after 5 months into a 1-year plan, you guys have a reason for it.